about this with our old friend Donnachadh McCarthy, who's director at Climate Media Coalition. Good afternoon to you, Donnachadh.
Good afternoon, Julia. I'm even older than I was when I last saw you.
we're all getting older. Now, one thing I did love the fact that I did look up this committee, and there's a subcommittee as part of the Environmental Audit Committee, and they went on a lovely little trip to Antarctica in January, one of those fact-finding missions we hear so much about. I don't know how they would have got all the way to Antarctica without going on a flight, but I'm sure it was vitally necessary. They couldn't have read a book or looked at pictures or done a Zoom meeting. They had to be there to look at the ice themselves. But, you know, a lot of us like to take flights. I get an awful lot of them. Should people be penalised for being frequent flyers?
I think there's a real issue with the people taking numerous flights. 15% of the population takes 70% of the flights, Julia. 50% of the UK population doesn't take any flight in a particular year. And the rest of us pay the price for those flights.
Do we? How do we pay the price?
Well, there's 1 million people in London suffer from noise pollution from the airports in London. The children in the schools surrounding the airport suffer from fossil fuel pollution coming down out of the air into them. And of course, then there's the climate impacts. 7% of our total impacts are from aviation. We have to tackle this one if we're going to tackle it seriously.
But this implies that an awful lot of the flying that is going on, the flights that take off, are all just, you know, people like me, you know, swanning off to the Alps for a ski trip. Actually, a lot of these flights are carrying vital cargo. They are providing jobs. I mean, the people who live closest to the biggest airport, who are hearing that, getting the noise pollution, are also the people likely to be working at the airports or benefiting from the jobs provided by those airports.
There's not 1 million people working in Heathrow, Julia.
There are an awful lot of people who benefit from the jobs that Heathrow brings.
No, you're actually right. I mean, you're actually right. If you care about jobs, you need to talk about jobs in relation to the tourism industry. The fact is, the UK tourism industry is a net loss to the UK economy of £25 billion.
No, it's not.
But the rich people
People coming into this country, Donnachadh, people coming into this country spending money in our hotels, in our restaurants, in the theatre, you know, and all on the taxis and all the other things they do in the shops. That's not a net loss. We benefit from tourism.
Hang on, you need to understand what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the amount of money frequent flyers and people holidaying abroad spend abroad, and how much people from abroad spend in the UK. We spend 25 billion more abroad than tourists visiting this country.
So wait a minute, you're saying that I will spend that money here rather than spending it abroad. That's a load of nonsense, because I wouldn't spend that amount of money to sit on a beach in England or to slide down a mountain in Wales.
Well, if you're not patriotic enough that you don't think Britain's
not patriotic enough. How dare I seek out sea and sand and sunshine or snow? How dare I?
You've just dished Britain as a holiday resort. I mean, how can you, Julia?
I think people come to Britain for holidays for different reasons than I choose. I live in the greatest city on earth, in my view, but I go and visit other cities. I go to other things. But I also want to get things like guaranteed sunshine or guaranteed snow. And I'm afraid you can't get those here in the UK.
So what you're actually saying is that, unlike me, I actually love Britain for holidays, and I actually spend my money in Britain, and it does two things. It improves the British economy and it cuts carbon emissions. It's a win-win, Julia.
Well, you know, I couldn't care less about carbon emissions. I'd rather go on my holiday like most people would. Here's the thing. Should we be penalising people? There has been some thought about, OK, you're going to have to tax people to stop them from flying, bearing in mind those flights are often used for cargo and actually are very useful for our economy. But are you saying that, for instance, people should be allowed to take maybe 1 or 2 foreign holidays a year, and everything after that they should be penalised to try and stop them? Do you think they'll do it? Because it seems to me if we did do something like that, you're basically saying, hey, rich people, you can fly as much as you want, but everyone else, well, to hell with you.
No, it's not. It's actually saying that the family that goes on a holiday to Spain will pay no extra on that one holiday. But the person who lives in with their holiday home in Greece and flies out 10 or 12 times a year, that they get hammered.
That's an idea. That sounds wonderful. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, but 12 flights a year, the price that the people in London are paying for the pollution and for the noise and the climate impacts is intolerable. We need to check.
Did you know that the air in London, you're talking specifically about London, the air in London has got cleaner not just in recent years, every decade, every year since, you know, 1900, the air has got cleaner.
Well, if you look at the pollution hotspots in London, obviously it's London and it's around Heathrow Airport. Why is it around Heathrow Airport? Because the number of flights are going through the roof
the air's
there.
got cleaner.
Because we've got people
there are more
flying
flights, but the air's got cleaner.
The other thing I thought that was very interesting about the report, very interesting on board, is that they said that we need to make trains cheaper. And I'm thinking that's something that we need to be doing in the UK. Over the last 12 years, we've increased train fares above inflation, and we've reduced plane fares. That's
that's a good point. Well, again, exactly, it's largely richer people who get trains. Donnachadh McCarthy, always good to thank you very much. Final word to Philip Ingram on this. He's been joining us in the studio the whole show.
Well, I say most frequent flyers are business flyers, and they're bringing business into this country, so it's money coming into the country.
Can't do everything on Zoom.
So you tax them even more. What's going to tax businesses?
Yeah, or they're the very rich, and the very rich. I have to say, my idea of hell would be flying.
Well, the very rich have got their own. I've got their own aircraft.
Yeah,
so they don't get these frequent flyers.
And if you are very rich and you'd like to frequent fly with me, I'm very happy to come on board. Always happy to take part.